Okay, guys, you recently just learned about pi, and pi is a symbol that looks like this, and it is a number that is almost 3. I'm going to put a squiggly equal sign because it doesn't mean it's exactly equal to 3, but it's almost equal to 3, and we actually are going to use the decimal number 3.14. It's helpful in these problems if the numbers you're using are decimal numbers. So if you have a fraction, you could make it into a decimal. So instead of doing like 2.5, go ahead and make it into 2.5 whenever you're doing problems like this, okay? So this is going to be important information to have. I'm going to suggest that you go and grab 2 note cards. And you can pause the video if you need to. Go grab 2 note cards. One of them is going to be for the circumference of a circle, and the other one's going to be for the area of a circle. And when you get back from getting your cards, go ahead and pause it and go get your cards. On the back side of your cards, I want you to write this: pi is equal to 3.14. Okay, and we just did an activity where you discovered that if you took the circumference and you divided by the diameter, it actually equaled something close to pi. If you had your measurements correct, you actually got numbers really, really close to this. So we are going to write these formulas in terms of pi. Okay, so I want you to write this down. Circumference of a circle is really just the distance around the outside of a circle. If I draw, and you don't have to draw this picture, but if I draw a circle, I'm going to draw it down here, and I'm going to use my compass to help me. I'm going to draw a really little circle. I love this tool. This is a fun tool. Okay. If I look at this, the circumference of the circle is the distance around the outside of a circle. So think if I had maybe a piece of yellow string or yarn and I wanted to wrap it around the outside of the circle, the question then would be, how long is that piece of yarn? If I were to now take that piece of yarn and lay it out straight, right, and get my ruler, where's my ruler? I know I've got one up here, there it is, and then measure this line, this string, how long would it be? You know, that's kind of what we're looking for here, okay? So that's what we're looking for when we look for circumference. And the formula for circumference, and you can write this on your card, circumference equals pi, which you're going to use 3.14, times the diameter of the circle. Now, I want to remind you the diameter of the circle is the distance from this one side through the center to the other side. So the circumference of the circle is the length of this line. If in a problem they only gave you the radius, and I'm going to write this in here, I'm going to write it kind of small, where you get to or the diameter, you're either going to put in the number that is the diameter, or you're going to put in whatever the radius is, and you're going to multiply it by 2. And then for the pi, you're going to put in 3.14, okay? And that's going to tell me how long is that string that wraps around the outside of a circle. Area is different, okay? When I look at a circle and I'm looking at area, I'm not looking about the distance, I'm not looking at the distance around the outside. I'm looking at how much space is inside. So I'm going to draw my little circle here, and I'm going to fill my circle. And while I'm doing this, you can be filling out your card. The area is the amount of space inside a circle. So it's that yellow inside the circle. And one thing I might want you to go ahead and put on here is that we always are going to write area in square units. I mean, picture it here. Picture it here. I could maybe make, if these were all straight lines, I could make these into squares, and then you could count up how many squares are actually inside this circle. So we're looking at this as how many squares are inside the circle. Okay, now we're going to write the formula. The formula is going to be area equals pi times the radius raised to the second power. Okay, now instead of pi, we're going to put in 3.14. So right there, you're going to put in 3.14. And what does this mean, radius to the second power? This just means radius times radius, not radius times 2. Okay, radius times radius. So I want you to have a card then that has the area of a circle, and then another one that has the circumference of a circle, and you've got these formulas. And on the back side of your card, I want you to write pi is 3.14. You can make it really big. Okay, now we're going to use these formulas to solve a couple problems. Let's say in this problem, I've got this circle, and in this circle, I know that the radius is 3 centimeters. Okay, now look at your card. What's the formula for circumference? Circumference is pi times the diameter. Was I given the diameter? Nope, I wasn't. The diameter, we don't know. We do know that the radius is 3 centimeters, though. And if you know about diameter, a diameter is actually 2 of these put together, so that would be 6 centimeters. So now I can solve this problem by putting in 3.14 for pi, and then multiplying it by 6, which is the diameter. Now, if you have access to a calculator, I'll let you use a calculator for this. 3.14 times 6 is 18.84, and I'm going to label it as centimeters. Okay, now let's talk about area. What's the formula for area? The formula for area is that the area of a circle is equal to pi times the radius raised to the second power. Okay, here's my circle. I'm going to give you some information here. I'm going to tell you that the diameter equals 20 inches. Okay, so whenever I do this problem, I'm going to put 3.14 in for pi, but I don't know what the radius is. I know that the diameter is 20 inches. Oh, wait a second, I know. If the diameter is 20 inches, then the radius has to be half of that. So it has to be 10 inches. So I'm going to put 10 to the second power. Now, what does 10 to the second power mean? It means 10 times 10. And actually, I think it would be really smart to do this part first, because multiplying 10 times 10 to get 100 makes this next part really easy, because when we multiply by 100, we're just moving the decimal 2 spaces. And so I end up with 314, and this would be in square inches. You can also write it as 314 inches to the second power. So use those cards to help you with this next exercise.